If I'm gonna be honest, it's kind of weird to even admit that I'm thinking about this. The fact that I'm making this video before any Canucks version of this video, it's kind of weird, but I'm gonna be honest, it's because everything is pointing in that direction right now. You look at the NHL standings, you look at the point production of some of these players, it's quite an interesting thing to think about. What if the Los Angeles Kings got Jack Hughes? And the first thing a lot of people are going to be thinking about is, nope, no, screw that, they already have their cups, they got 2 in like 3 years, they don't need a franchise superstar defining player because they had a few of those already. Oh, Kopitar, oh, Doughty, Kovalchuk, I guess you could talk about him in the same light. They got good players. They don't need Jack Hughes. Well, I mean, literally they are last in the standings, and their best player, Anze Kopitar, only has himself 22 points in 34 games, so I think they could use a Jack Hughes in terms of production, but it is very fair to consider that they have been very successful over the past few years, and something like Jack Hughes would just push them to a whole new level, assuming the players of 2012 and 2014 still exist within the Los Angeles Kings' aging forward core and defense core. Add to that Jonathan Quick, and all of a sudden you have a team that, on paper, should be better than last overall in the NHL. This begs the question, what if the Kings won the draft lottery, which they very well could, and drafted Jack Hughes first overall? First off, once Jack Hughes gets drafted, the whole building in Rogers Arena goes berserk because nobody really wants to see that happening, but we're bringing it up because it's honestly a very fair possibility. The fact is here, if Jack Hughes goes to LA, then all of a sudden the Kings have themselves a revitalization. That's what Jack Hughes will do to any organization that drafts him with the hopes of remaining competitive. Jack Hughes will come into the Kings lineup and be an absolute stud, not really the first line center, maybe not even the second line center, because Kopitar and Carter are 2 really highly respected players. If you put Jack Hughes on the third line, he plays maybe with a Carl Hagelin or maybe an Ilya Kovalchuk, maybe even a Brendan Leipsic. But I know that if Hagelin and Hughes play together, that would be one of the fastest lines in the NHL. You put Kovalchuk on the right wing, Hagelin, Hughes, and Kovalchuk. That looks really, really fast. And honestly, I think that could be one of the quickest, speediest, nimblest lines in hockey next year, if it does happen. Hagelin's already proven one of the fastest guys in the NHL, Jack Hughes is probably the best skater in the draft, and Kovalchuk is just a workhorse. I think everybody's kind of familiar with that, so having these 3 as a third line would really be a speedy, deadly combination. Hagelin is a guy not producing for LA because he's injured. Same thing with Kovalchuk, he's also injured. So, right now, it's mostly just Kopitar doing all the heavy lifting. Guys like Jeff Carter, he's under half a point a game, only at 6 goals and 9 assists in 35 games. Dustin Brown has kinda stepped things up a little bit this season. Tyler Toffoli is not where he's supposed to be either. And I've seen a lot of people saying that Jake Muzzin is actually the best defenseman on the Kings this year, and not Doughty. It's interesting to note, but honestly, it's quite remarkable to look at these point totals. So if the Los Angeles Kings got themselves Jack Hughes, they would automatically make themselves desirable again. And Kovalchuk will finally have a reason to say, yeah, this is why I stayed here instead of coming back to any other team. This is why I chose Los Angeles, because the Kings right now, they were supposed to be competitive, but they're really not, because they're really just underperforming everywhere, and a player like Jack Hughes coming into the organization would really change things up. And all of a sudden you have yourself a rookie who's poised to getting upwards of 60+ points in his rookie season totally tearing things up. Imagine the power play with Kopitar, Doughty, Toffoli, Carter, and Hughes. Goodness gracious, that sounds amazing. But overall, it's very much likely a possibility that it could happen. I personally don't want to see it happen because the draft is in Vancouver, and the Kings, they've been successful for so long, I don't think they deserve anything new, but that's the way the draft lottery goes. They're last in the league, and they probably will stay that way for a long time, meaning that they will most likely have themselves a high draft position going into June. It's quite interesting, actually, because if the Kings just get themselves a top 10 pick, which they're basically guaranteed, it'll be the first time since 2009 that they have a top 10 pick. They haven't had a top 10 pick in almost 10 years, and the player that they took in 2009, 5th overall, was Brayden Schenn. If you go back 1 year earlier, though, they took 2nd overall in 2008, Drew Doughty. That was the Steven Stamkos year. So obviously the Kings don't have a good draft history in the past 10 years. However, I do like the prospects that they have in the system. Vilardi, I like him. Bulat, Shafigulin, I like him as well. Kupari, Thomas are all guys that look like they could be really good. And Jared Anderson-Dolan is lighting things up at the World Juniors. He's so silky right now. So overall, the Kings have a good-ish prospect pool and an aging forward core, but Jack Hughes could really fix that. Him, along with some of the other prospects that are set to make the team in 2019-20, could really change the face of the franchise, all within one season's worth of suffering. So overall, I think the Kings are in a position where if they get Jack Hughes, they're going to be really thankful for it. Hope you guys enjoyed this Miniature Plus and Astro Slice 9 Gaming, and bye.